Hi, everybody. Welcome to All Things Aviation and Aerospace. I'm Vince Mickens with Private Air Media, and looking forward to today's preview of a really great show that's coming up in a couple of weeks, and that is EAA AirVenture Oshkosh in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, at Wittman Regional Airport. It's a once in a million event, so to speak, in the sense that if you haven't gone, you got to go. If you're a pilot and haven't gone, you really need to go. But anybody, whether you're in aviation or not, will want to check out this event because it's almost hard to describe, which is why what we're going to talk about today. We're going to try to describe it and let you guys know what's going on with it. I want to accomplish a couple of things with this. I was talking with everybody about it in pre-show, and that is I really want, for those of you who may be on the fence that are pilots or aviation enthusiasts, you don't want to miss this show. If you went last year, you know what I mean. If you didn't, you need to come and find out because it has any and everything that has to do with aviation. And when I say any and everything, civilian, military, home built, some flying contraptions almost that you go, oh, that flies. Okay. I know one of the neatest things I saw a few years ago that I had a chance to actually look up at close. I'm sure it's been at the show every year, but I got a chance to look at it. It was an all wooden airplane and it looked really heavy. And I thought, really, this can get up in the air? But it could. Now, I'm not sure about the gas mileage on that baby, but it was really neat. So it's just one of those places that it's kind of, if you've ever been to a music festival like Coachella, or you've been to a fair, a county fair or something like that, throw a bunch of aviation enthusiasts and airplanes into the mix, and voila, you have the EAA AirVenture at Oshkosh, Wisconsin. So pretty cool stuff, and really looking forward to it. So I'm going to kind of share with you who's with us today, and then we'll talk about all aspects of this show. First of all, joining me from the Experimental Aircraft Association, which is better known as EAA, is Dick Knapinski. Now, Dick has been EAA's Director of Communications since 2010. Leading up to that, he's been a part of EAA's Public Relations and Marketing staff since 1992. Now, let me see, that's 18 plus 13. Oh, wow. Over 3 decades at EAA. So, Dick, I have a trivia question for you.
Okay.
How many EAA events did you attend before joining the staff?
My first one was in 1978. I was an 18-year-old kid just out of high school. I loved warbirds, loved biplanes, had never seen a home-built airplane, and drove the 70 miles or so over to Oshkosh with a buddy to say, okay, let's go check this thing out. And so was here 4 or 5 times before joining the staff in 1992 and been here ever since. So either I really like it or I've got no transferable skills whatsoever.
And did I see in your background that you actually fly what they call a light sport?
I was part of the EA employee team. We built a Zenith 750 cruiser back in 2014. That was supposed to be a 6-month project, which we definitely squeezed into about 2 years, and finally got the aircraft going in 2014. It's part of our flying club now, and it's a fun little airplane. And I can tell you there are a heck of a lot of rivets in a Zenith 750 because we put them all in. I can only imagine.
Yeah. I'll have to take a look at it. I'm sure you've got one on the field there.
Oh, yeah.
Also joining us is Paul Maloy. Paul, while relatively a new staff member there at EAA, he is not new to aviation, and he is not new to education. He also served in the United States Air Force as an officer, and he got to fly the Cessna T-37 Tweet. Now, we all know that really stands for Tweety Bird, and we'll talk about that in a minute. This is the part I admire about him. He taught 7th and 8th graders. I have 3 daughters. I know about the middle school stuff. He was a middle school educator for 16 years. So, Paul, hats off to you for surviving that, because that 7th and 8th grade level can be a little bit of combat training. But Paul now manages EAA's team of professional educators in the EAA Youth Education Center. He has recently launched the K through 12 Youth Aviation Exploration website, AeroEducate.org, and we'll talk about the AeroEducate program. He hosts EAA's annual Air Academy summer camps for youths that are between the ages of 12 and 18. And being a historian that he is, Paul flies a 1960 Piper Comanche 250. For those of you who don't know what that is just a single engine with a lot of power. It goes back in the day. I'd like to compare it with my experience of flying the Piper Aero 200, but you got the extra 50 horsepower. So, and it's a little different kind of a bird, but sorry, I'm morphing into pilot talk instead of continuing to do what I'm supposed to do with this show. And on the team, I'm so glad they could join us. First of all, we have Alyssa Horpedahl, and she is the EAA Youth Education Center Program Manager. She oversees education program offerings, and she is involved in the programs that I just spoke about, including pre-K through college age students, special event concept, aviation tech, which I also think, okay, I think everything's a neat concept. And Teacher Day, which is interesting. I want to hear a whole lot about that. So really glad to have her. And also with her is Danielle Schmick. And Danielle is the AeroEducate program manager specifically. So she'll be able to tell us about that. And Paul will kind of tell us more about what he and his entire team do. So it's really great to have you guys. Welcome to the show. Welcome to All Things Aviation and Aerospace. As I've stated probably 5 times already, and we're not even 5 minutes into the show, excited about this, excited about what EAA has done. I wanted to start go back a little bit on the history of it. So Paul will like that. And Dick will like it because Dick's been there since it started. No, not that far. He isn't that far back. But I do think the history is pretty interesting. I never really paid attention to it that much, but this time I kind of did some extra research to make sure I was on top of things. And I thought, wow, what a neat story, you know, of EAA starting as this small group, you know, of aviation enthusiasts. And when I say small, I mean like, you know, less than a couple of dozen. And the first gathering was about 150 people in 1953, which was before I was born. Got to point that out. And then it just kind of kept growing and went from a small field to an airport to, you know, now it's at Wittman. So Dick, we can start with you. Could you tell us a little bit more about that and give us some background on the history of how this all came about to where it is now? I mean, last year, I think you had over 650,000 attendees in a 7-day period. You had 10,000 plus aircraft, of which about 3,000 or thereabouts were on display. You have people coming in campers and camping under the wings of the airplanes and camping in tents, et cetera. And you got all these things that you have. I think last year you had 1,400 plus exhibitors that were doing their thing. And I can keep going on, over 5,000 volunteers and everything. That's what's happening now. How did that start?
It started very small. January 1953, Paul Poberezny was a guy who kind of, after he got out of World War II and the Korean War, he built and restored airplanes. And he had a lot of friends in the Milwaukee area, did the same thing. So they got together January 1953. There were about 35 of them got together at an airport in Milwaukee and started what Paul always said was we just wanted to start an airplane club in Milwaukee. And that was the start of the Experimental Aircraft Association. Well, the concept grew pretty fast. Within the first year, there was a group led by Ray Stitz out in Riverside, California. They said, can we become a chapter of EAA? And they became chapter 1. And so that kind of grew from there. Paul also wrote a series of articles about how to build your own airplane with engine for less than $800 for a magazine called Mechanics Illustrated at the time. And that appeared in 1954-55, drew a lot of people nationally to the concept of building airplanes. And at the same time, the fly-in started in September of 53 with 21 airplanes, 150 people. Everybody had dinner in the Miller Brewing Company hangar that night, and can't do that anymore. And so we continue to grow. And 1960, the fly-in moved over to Rockford, Illinois. And then in 1970, it came to Oshkosh after it outgrew Rockford. Rockford was getting this big thing. It was the Ozark Airlines was coming in. They were expanding, didn't have any room for EAA anymore, so you had to find a new place. Well, they came to Oshkosh, and what you see behind me right now is Oshkosh last year. And with all the airplanes and all the campers and all the exhibitors and so forth that come together to really make the world of aviation, and literally it is the world of aviation, something like 90 countries are represented each year here on these grounds. You mentioned it, Vince, 800 exhibitors, 1,400 forums and workshops during the course of the week. And just an amazing gathering of everything that flies. You know, I tell people, if it has flown, is flying, or will fly, it's going to come to Oshkosh at some time. And it really is, I guess you could call it our family reunion. We get together every year and talk airplanes and speak about airplanes. So if you like airplanes, you like history, you like technology, you like the people watch, any of those things, you find a bounty here at Oshkosh.
Yeah, I was going it's funny you said that, because well, first of all, I was looking at the photo behind you, and here I thought you were hovering in like a really steady helicopter with a great shot, and nope, it's just a photo. But it's a great photo of what was taking place last year. And I think one of the things that I really want us to emphasize is, because a lot of us in the aviation community, so I'll speak for myself, I dreamed of going to Oshkosh when I was in high school. I was just starting to get a feel, reading my first flying magazine, et cetera, and so forth. And I was like, oh, I want to go to Oshkosh one day. And by the way, that didn't happen until decades later. And after I went, I said, oh, God, how could I have missed this for so long? Because it was a great thing. But what I want people that aren't necessarily in aviation, because what I was going to say is that Oshkosh to me is great inspiration for people that are interested in aviation, whatever their interest, whatever aspect of it is, or whatever segment, because it has a little bit of everything. And the fact that you can walk into a forum and see people talking about how to repair an engine, or how to modify one, or things like that, or how to do other things to other parts of an aircraft, or the avionics, et cetera, as just an example, is just an amazing thing. And then, you know, the theater and the museum and the education center that we're getting ready to talk to. And I just really want to place emphasis about the inspirational aspect of it. And that I think if a kid in your family or a friend of the family mentions that they have an interest in aviation, you need to figure out how to get them up to Oshkosh, because once you get them there, be ready, because when they finish, they're going to be asking you a million questions and telling you about this great career they want to pursue.
Yeah, let me tell you one story about that, Vince. Last year, we had a gentleman from Canada come down, and his 13-year-old son. First time they'd been to Oshkosh. They both liked airplanes. They came down, and they're both inspired by it. They both started flying lessons. And in Canada, you can solo an aircraft at age 14 instead of 16 in the US. And so the young man actually beat his dad to solo. And on his 14th birthday up in Canada, he soloed an airplane. So that is the kind of inspiration. And they're both coming back to Oshkosh this year, naturally. But those are the kind of stories we hear about people that see this, get involved. We've had kids from Oshkosh who have come here as grade schoolers and in high school started working on the grounds. And we've had them come back as professional pilots, as military pilots, and so forth. Those kind of things happen here, and it is that kind of effect on people. It is a magical place. You know, it's kind of like Brigadoon. It blooms out of the turf every year for a week, and then it disappears for 365 days again. And but it is something for people who love flight. If you can't find it here, you're not looking hard enough, because it'll be here somewhere.
Yeah, I would concur with that. And I think that the other thing that's really key about Oshkosh and again, talking about the inspiring part, I wanted to share a similar type of a story, but a little different in nature. So several years ago, Brigadier General Charles McGee, the Tuskegee Airman, we came to Oshkosh, and I because we were bringing him I thought, let's bring a couple of young people and let them experience this that have not been there. One was his great grandson, who, by the way, is now a senior in high school and getting ready to trying to decide. Well, he's a rising senior, I guess they say. He's getting ready to decide which academy he'd like to go to. And so he's looking at the Air Force Academy and the Naval Academy. He's even looking at, what's the Army one?
West Point, right?
West Point, thank you. Sorry, Army, no offense. But anyhow, I'm a Navy guy. What can I say? But the fact that the point that I was trying to make is that when he came to Oshkosh for his first time with his great grandfather, even though he had an idea of his love for aviation, it was Oshkosh that kind of helped him focus and zero in on what he really likes. He's got an engineering mind, so I'm sure he's going to go the route of like aerospace engineering or something like that. But he's fascinated with 3D printer technology and things like that. And he liked the technical side. So the tech area that Oshkosh has, he got a big kick out of. And the other young man who is about a little younger, but about close to the same age, he came and he was overwhelmed. His original thoughts before he ever came to Oshkosh was that he wanted to be an aerospace engineer. He didn't really know what that was, but he had an idea of what it was about and he was interested in it. Long story short, he came to Oshkosh with his father. And after a couple of days, I said, "So how's it going?" And he said, "This is amazing, but oh my God, there's just so much." He goes, "I don't know where to start or how to figure it all out." I said, "Okay, back it up a notch. Let me make a recommendation." I said, "Put it in categories. So there's the flying area, there's the mechanic area, there's the technology area, et cetera, kind of categorize it in your mind and in your observation and see if that helps you kind of zone in on it." So between that and then the General Aviation Manufacturer Association president, Pete Bunce, took him and the grandson and a couple of other folks on a tour to the tech area. They went in the GE exhibit and they saw the big turbine engine. And they were both just like locked in on it. And it was just that whole experience of how that affected them along with everything else with the show, including them touring the museum and things like that. And I don't think the education center was open yet. I don't remember if it was. I think it just opened last summer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So, yeah. But anyhow, that aside, they had a really great time and it had a profound effect. So the story you just told, Dick, and what I'm sharing, and I'm sure we have 1,000 other ones like it that we can share about that, are really key. Let's move into the education side of it, because that's a big piece, which I have to say, over the years, you guys have had the program for taking the Young Eagles, for taking kids up flying through your chapters and things like that, which is still very active. It's still a very effective program. But I know, even I'm a member, but as kind of an outsider also know that you guys have spent a lot of time and energy saying, okay, how do we take this to the next level? How do we take a one ride situation where a kid goes up and gets that first experience and has an interest, whether it's to be a pilot, a professional pilot, or some other aspect or segment of the industry, or whether they want to be an astronaut and do space exploration? How do we take them to the next level? And that's where I think the AeroEducate and the EAA Education Center have come into play, and you guys have gotten a lot of support and you have made it happen. So tell us about that.
Sure, thank you. So, my trip here to EAA, and I've been here about 1.5 years now, and it was really cool because initially my dad was actually a member of EAA Chapter 23 out of Salt Lake City, and he would invite me to come to the chapter meetings, and I'd say, "Dad, I have no desire to sit around with a bunch of old geezers listening how to dope fabric." I mean, that was my concept of EAA. But I have a brother that now flies for Delta, and another brother that is a mechanic for SkyWest Airlines. And they kind of twisted my arm to come to AirVenture in 2018. They made me a deal I couldn't refuse. You know, we'll pay for everything. You just come with us. And it's like, okay, I'll do that. Day one, which we were camping, and we came in on Sunday afternoon, and day one, my mind was blown. I had no idea how expansive the Experimental Aircraft Association really is. And very impressed, so impressed that I went back to my school and immediately implemented an aviation club for after school for all of the students at my school, which, by the way, yes, I know I'm a little bit crazy. I love the middle school years. And even my own staff of educators sometimes think I'm a little bit crazy, and that probably is true. No
I was
what.
teasing you about it. Middle school is actually a very formative year for kids.
It's true.
and they are tough to deal with because they are transitioning and they're figuring things out, but it's a great time to introduce them to new things. So hats off to you for implementing a program there.
Well, and it was interesting because at that point, we had Young Eagles. This year, we're celebrating the completion of our 30th anniversary for Young Eagles, having flown now close to 2.5 million youth completely for free through the chapter organizations all across the United States. So it's a really remarkable thing that we've been able to accomplish at introducing youth from age 8 through 17 to be able to say, you know, here's something that maybe you had never considered before. Let's give you an experience that can change your life. And for a lot of them, it has. This is also, by the way, the 40th anniversary for Air Academy, which is our summer camp system. And,
wow, it's been around for 40 years.
40 years. And we now legitimately have hundreds, if not thousands, of former campers who are part of the aviation industry. Many of them stay in touch and tell us that they've become commercial pilots or military pilots or support pilots or just recreational pilots based on their Air Academy experience.
Can you tell us a little bit about that summer camp while we're talking about it? About how long it is, the age range for it, and things like that?
Right. So I'll let Danielle talk a little bit about that because she was connected with that.
Oh, we have other people. Oh, yeah. Hi, Danielle. Go ahead.
So, yeah, I have a little bit of background with Air Academy, helped out a lot last year with it. Typically, from year to year, it does vary on how many sessions we have. But recently, as of last year, we had 6 sessions of camps. 2 of them were 12 and 13-year-olds, 2 of them were 14 and 15-year-olds, and then 2 sessions of 16, 17, and 18-year-olds. The length of time that they're here depends on their age level. So the younger kids might only stay for 4 nights, while the older kids might stay for 7 or 8 nights. So they kind of gradually increase from there. The really cool part about the upper level, the 16, 17, and 18-year-olds, is their camp time actually overlaps with AirVenture Week. So the first session comes in before AirVenture Week starts, but then they stay for the first few days of that AirVenture Week. So they basically get, free reign of the grounds during the day, which is really awesome. They basically just come back to eat at our lodge. And then when they depart, a new group comes in, and their very first day of camp is AirVenture midweek. And they get to explore that experience, and then they'll stay a little bit longer after AirVenture to finish their camp experience. So it's pretty awesome. But each session has about 45 kids in each of those 6 sessions. So we hit a pretty good amount of kids in the summer, and they're all super excited to be here. They get to stay right here on our grounds at our Air Academy Lodge, which is a beautiful facility where they eat, they sleep, they have recreational rooms there. And then they also participate in some workshop, woodworking, metalwork. They're doing 3D printing, some composite work as well. And they get to go for a flight. They take a helicopter ride while they're here, weather permitting. So pretty awesome experience for those kiddos.
So 2 questions. One, where are you? Because you look like you're in a hangar, but I think you're in a lab, right?
Yeah, so I'm sitting in a lab, and then behind me is our large atrium area of our Youth Education Center. So wanted to also plug our Youth Education Center, and Alyssa can talk about what they do in here when we get to that part. But yes, we're in our brand new facility.
Yeah, well, we can start plugging away, but I think you're the program manager for AeroEducate, correct?
Correct.
So,
Yes.
so why don't we start with telling us a little bit more about that program and the website, et cetera.
Yeah. Yes. So kind of, going off what you mentioned before, we've been doing our Young Eagles flights for, at this point, 30 years. And a few years ago, we started asking the question, how can we support these kids after their flight when they get excited? We don't want that excitement to fizzle. So 4 or 5 years ago, some heads came together and said, what can we do? How can we reach as many kids as possible and stay in touch with them? We can't get them in our facility. We're only one city, right? So we can't get all those kids across the country and across the world to come here. So the easiest way to stay connected is through a web-based resource. So development started, concept started, whiteboarding ideas, right? And all kind of came together. We partnered up with Siemens Technology, Airbus, and United Airlines to help develop this resource, this web-based resource for kids. It is completely free, and which is something that we are very devoted to maintaining. Our resources support kids from kindergarten all the way through 12th grade. And the activities that we have available, we try to make as age appropriate as possible. So our kindergarten students are going to get very simple, fun activities that are speaking to them at their language and at their developmental level. And then we move up to our elementary, upper elementary, middle school, and high school levels and gradually increase the rigor from there. We also have resources for teachers and other educators or aviation club advisors, a set of classroom activities that they can implement as well, completely free. We have 24 activities in that area where simple everyday materials like balloons and tape and string and paper, and we're challenging them to have their kids create things in the classroom and experiment with those.
Yeah, but that's really important to get the teachers and educators engaged in the whole process, because they play a really important role. I think one of the most important roles, because a kid can have an idea of what they want, what they're interested in, what gets them excited, but it takes the parent and the teacher and the counselor and the advisors and the administrators, et cetera, to really carry that through and help guide them forward with it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure that we.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Right. So we for example, when I was here in 2018, my brothers and I immediately decided we're coming back in 2020. Well, 2020, of course, was canceled. When I came here in 2021, I started hearing rumors about this AeroEducate program. And so I knew immediately that I wanted to learn as much as I could about that, because I could see how that would fit into my aviation club.
Precisely.
And when I got here, I totally haunted the guy that was the first program manager, heard his presentation, loved it, was so impressed. And I told him afterwards, I says, when I retire from teaching, I want to come work for you. And he says, oh, we'll definitely be expanding. And for sure, watch online for, we'll post job openings. Well, November of 2021, something popped up and I applied. Didn't think I would get it, but ended up.
So you did it the old-fashioned way.
I did. And the funny thing is that got here, I said, okay, so where's the program manager? And they said, oh, you're it.
Hey, kids, remember, old school works too. Just saying.
Right. So it was cool. Yeah, very cool. And for sure, you wouldn't have been able to pry me out of the classroom other than the fact that I could see an opportunity to basically combine quality education with my love of aviation into something that was truly unique, and then be able to share that not only nationwide, but truly worldwide. And Danielle knows that we have people in Brazil, we have people in Asia, we have a lot of interest, of course, through Canada and the United Kingdom.
Yeah.
But it was that idea that, okay, how do we engage kids not only to open up doors for the potential careers that are hugely rewarding, both in terms of stimulating as well as financially rewarding, but it was also the idea that we were very much aware of the critical talent shortages that are happening throughout aviation and aerospace industries. And we thought we need to do something, and we need to do it now. Otherwise, that talent shortage situation is just going to get worse.
Absolutely. And the other part that you just talked about is the amount of opportunity in the industry. I mean, it's wide open. As far as I can see, it hasn't been this wide open in decades, and now's the time. So whether it's a little kid in elementary school all the way up through post college, the opportunities are there, and it doesn't matter your skill set, whatever you're talented at, it's applicable in our industry. And
we like to tell the kids that no matter what you dream of, no matter what skill you're interested in, there is an aviation correlation. Absolutely.
So, Alyssa, we had to give you a chance to tell about your aspect of what you do with the EAA Education Center.
So I started here at EAA back in January. I was actually a classroom teacher for 13 years prior to that. So I brought my experience with me, and our goal here is just to reach as many kids as possible and spread that spirit of aviation with them. And so we offer programs for groups of kids as well as host events such as Space Day and Girls on the Fly. So we are offering things not just about being a pilot, but like you said, every aspect of aviation is in need right now. So we talk about engineering, we talk about being a mechanic, about the physics and the science of flight, being an air traffic controller. There's so many job opportunities out there, and kids just don't even know. And as a teacher, I know how important it is just to create that spark with kids. And so that's our whole goal here, is just to get as many kids in here as possible.
Sure. Let's talk about some of those programs in a little bit more detail, such as Space Day or Girls on the Fly, AirVenture, and things like that. Tell us a little bit more about that for the audience to know.
Sure. So during AirVenture, we have 3 main events that we host here. So the first one starts on Sunday and it goes through Wednesday, and that is GirlVenture. So we're going to have actually 102 girls here this year, ages or grades 9 through 12, and they're going to get the opportunity to get hands-on experiences. They're going to be out on the grounds getting to meet people. They're going to get an opportunity to go to the seaplane base. So they're going to experience all different facets of aviation. And what's really cool is we have 35 mentors that will be here, and they are all women in different areas of the aviation industry. So they are going to bring that experience and that opportunity to the girls in their unique perspective. And so that's just one of our big things that we do. So the other thing, and it kind of overlaps, is on Tuesday and Thursday, we have aviation tech. So during that time, there's pre-registration available. I think last time I checked, there's only like 12 spots left. So if anyone's coming, sign up now. We are going to be teaching kids about the F-35, and they're going to actually learn about circuitry and get a chance to solder and build an F-35 model while they're here. So we're kind of—
So the F-35, we're talking the fighter jet, right?
Yes.
Okay, just wanted to tell our audience to know. So that's the military fighter jet.
Right.
Pretty badass jet. Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry about the language. Go ahead.
It is. It's totally awesome. We're also going to have some engineers here during that time to go through some flight scenarios with the kids in their last station. So it's set up like stations. So the first station, they're going to learn about the airframe and the power plant of the F-35. Then they're going to move into the circuitry lab and actually do the soldering, and then they're going to build their model. And the last station is flight test engineers will be working with the kids that get to come through. So it's a pretty awesome opportunity, and kind of a different side of aviation that they'll get to see as far as getting into the circuitry and avionics.
Awesome.
Which not something that's usually hit on, I guess. So we're trying to cover our bases.
Yeah, no, that's the great thing. And then there was a third thing you're doing.
Yes, and Friday is Teacher Day, which is right now we have 120 people registered. So our registration is full, but we do have a wait list. So if anyone is out there and considering coming, please join the wait list, because you never know, you might get in there. So we host teachers for the morning, and then in the afternoon, they actually get a free wristband to go out onto the grounds and experience AirVenture. So we are going to be having hands-on workshops and giving them lots of free resources and pointing them in different directions on how they can tie in aviation into their regular ed classroom. So a lot of times schools don't have the time or the resources to talk about aviation. It's just one of the many things they have to cover, right? So we come up with ways that they can incorporate it and tie it into their standards that they're already teaching.
Yeah. So first of all, hats off to you and Paul as educators, because I was raised by two educators. So I have it deeply entrenched in my blood, and I have a great appreciation for what you guys do, because it's always challenging, but I'll just put it this way. Educators never get enough support, in my opinion, but that's just me. But I really admire what you guys do. Paul, I wanted to kind of give an overview of everything that we've just talked about in terms of your education center from you, in the sense that, so I visited it for the first time when it opened last year. And I was impressed, blown away, excited. I just thought, wow, this is the future. This is going to do a lot for guiding kids into future opportunities in our fantastic industry. So can you kind of piggyback on me with that?
Oh, absolutely, for sure. And so what Vince is referring to is the opening last year at AirVenture 22 of the Youth Education Center. And we're in a brand new facility, and each, Danielle, Alyssa, and myself, I'm in the wind tunnel lab of the Youth Education Center. And so we have
we kind of thought you were going to start it up, but thank you for not.
Yeah, and this is a cool one, to be sure. I mean, it's the full smoke effect inside with the airfoils. I mean, it's awesome.
Nice.
What we knew, though, is that we needed to serve the youth of our region, but not just the region. We knew that we needed to be able to integrate aviation exploration in as wide a possibility as we can. So what's interesting is that, in truth, the Air Academy camps, the Youth Education Center, and then the AeroEducate online program all are merging together. And by that, I mean that they support each other, they reinforce each other. And so even though we talk about the hands-on activities that are happening here in the Youth Education Center, or through the leveraging of the summer Air Academy camps, which again are now being done mostly in here. In fact, one of our original ideas was to show you that we've got students just in the lab next to me who are working on a project. But then it's like, okay, we send them home or we send them back. It's the same issue with the young Eagles, right? It's like, then what? Well, that's where AeroEducate comes into play. And with the ability to do all of the exploratory activities, of which there are now 176 different types of activities that they can do. And that's critical, that word do, as opposed to just read or just watch, right?
It's engaging.
Even though it's an online web source, is the idea that they're going to do something. They're going to interact with the information. They're going to do something. They're going to build something. They're going to be able to come away with a skill, some knowledge. And one of the things that we should definitely have Danielle talk about is the badging process that is part of the AeroEducate system.
Yeah, Danielle, go ahead.
Okay, so I mentioned we kind of divide these activities into grade level, grade bands, and that's how we also divide up the badging. So we have kindergarten through second grade is our Talon badge that they can earn at that level. Third, fourth, and fifth grade is our Avior badge. Sixth, seventh, and eighth is our Aero Pioneer, and 9 through 12 is our Aero Expedition. Within each of those grade level badges, it breaks down into 4 elemental badges that are the same in all 4 grade bands, but they get to explore topics related to flights, careers in aviation, not just piloting, but all of those that we've already kind of mentioned before. Also community. So we want to challenge them to get out and meet people and be a part of the aviation community. And I'll give some examples in a minute. And then also aviation technology. So within each of those 4 categories, there are activities that they can choose from. Some of them are mandatory because we feel that they're very kind of elemental and core to that, aviation knowledge. And then there's some electives that they can choose from based on their interest level. And as they complete these activities, they earn points. And as they earn enough points, they earn a badge in each of those 4 categories. And then if they earn all 4, then they earn their grade level badge. So it's just kind of a fun way for kids to hopefully set a goal and just have that, acknowledgement for their accomplishments and what they've learned. They can print a certificate that, shows that they've earned these badges. They can print a transcript that shows all the activities that they've done and all the badges that they've earned that they could also use, at the high school level if they're applying for, any aviation training programs or jobs or things like that. So doing what we can to support them. Some of the activities are completely digital, but we try our best to incorporate as many hands-on activities as well. So we might challenge them to build an RC airplane and fly it and send us a picture to show that they've completed that activity. We've also selected some grade level difficulty appropriate paper airplanes that they can make, that we challenge them to make, that might be specifically made for, to maximize the time aloft, or that they're aerobatic, or just try to challenge them to kind of crank it up a notch versus the traditional dart paper airplane. So they're doing things with their hands. Other things might, especially in the community piece, we challenge them to get out there. So go to any air show, or come to AirVenture, go to an aviation museum, go to the library and get some aviation books. Things like that. We really try to get them out of their house and out and talking to people, because we all know that as we meet new people, that networking is so important, that can open doors of opportunities for their future. So we want to make sure that we expose them to that as much as possible. At our high school level, we also have a capstone project that now we kind of turn the mirror around on them, and we do what we can to support their plan. So they complete a set of 5 activities in this capstone. They complete a career plan, so they submit what they want to do and how they're going to get there, and we line them up with a mentor that's going to walk them through their process of exploring that career path. We have them apply to 2 scholarships. We have them apply to 2 training programs. We also have them build a resume that's aviation based, so that we know that it's geared towards what they want to do, and then submit a picture of themselves in aviation. So that can also earn them the capstone badge at that high school level. So we're just doing everything we can to keep a little bit of structure, yet give them a little bit of self-exploratory, self-paced, so that they don't feel like this is, this regimented, path that they have to follow in a specific order. They can kind of choose where they want to go and earn badges along the way, which is really cool.
Yeah, that's fantastic. The central term I think of with everything you guys have just said is engagement. You're getting these kids to connect with you, and therefore connect with the industry in various ways. And I think that that's really helpful. We are about to run out of time. We've got about 15 minutes left, and I want to spend the last part of this show talking about everything that's going to be there in a little bit more detail. So guess what, Dick? Back to you. You can start that off for us. But I there's just so much going on. There are daily air shows, and you guys have some great folks that are going to be performing. You've got some really neat aircraft that are coming in. You have airplane rides, helicopter rides, and things like that. Can we just kind of go through some of it and see how much of it we can squeeze in 15 minutes? Sure.
The next 3 hours, we can probably cover that pretty well. So we'll just
exactly.
go through it right there. But just to give you an idea, every day, if you're coming for one day, I always tell people start at Boeing Plaza, because you can go north and south from there, go up to the Warbirds, go to the home builts, go down to the vintage ultralights and so forth. But Boeing Plaza is the centerpiece. And I know, Vince, you've come in there when you came in with our friend General McGee in past years. You landed and taxied on to Boeing Plaza there. And it's a great place to see. Some of the airplanes we'll have this year from the Air Force Training Command. They're the people that teach everybody else how to fly the airplanes. And so we told them, bring one of everything. they're going to try. We just got confirmed a B-52 bomber is going to join us this year. We have
Oh, wow.
F-35s from the Air Force, the Navy, the Marine Corps. So the A, B, and C models of the F-35 will be here.
So the kids can
C-130s.
see the F-35 that you guys are talking about in the education program.
Right up close. It's right there.
Up close
you can
and
talk to the
personal.
pilots.
Sweet.
Exactly. And, we'll have a C-5, a C-17 during the course of the week, and people can walk through them. Elsewhere during the week, we have Boeing bringing its big Dream Lifter. That is like a 747 that somebody left the helium hose in too long and it kind of blows up, and it looks like something.
They call it a guppy or something, right?
Oh, that's coming too. From NASA, the Super Guppy, which is
the
another
Super
one.
Guppy, yeah.
We're gonna have big fat airplanes out there for the first 3 days, and but the Super Guppy and the Dream Lifter both take rocket segments for NASA from one place to another. And what's going to be fun about the Super Guppy, hasn't been with us for more than 20 years, is when you see the Super Guppy, the entire nose, including the cockpit, swings open to open up the cargo bay. And inside of it, we're going to have one of the Orion test capsules for the Artemis space program that NASA is bringing along. So people can
get out of here. Really?
That. And that's part of what NASA's doing this year as well. They're bringing people from the Apollo program, including Apollo 16 astronaut Charlie Duke, and people from the Artemis program in a program called the Next Bold Step. What's been learned from Apollo that we can apply 50 years later for the next missions, manned missions to the moon, which will be coming in the next few years. We hope to have some of the Artemis astronauts with us as well as they gear up for their moon mission. So those will be there as well. Along with that, we've got the Corsair, which is the iconic fighter aircraft used by the Navy and Marines back in World War II and the Korean War. There are about 25 of those left flying in North America. Right now, we have 14 of them committed to come to Oshkosh. And with that, we're going to have the one we have in the museum, which was flown by Medal of Honor recipient Thomas Hudner, which we dedicated in April of 2022. That one we brought out, started up the engine for the first time in 25 years. We hope to have all the Corsairs lined up on the taxiway one day and do an engine run up for the crowd at that point. And that's going to be a lot of fun as well. With that, we'll be showing the movie Devotion that came out last November, and we'll have Thomas Hudner's son. Yep. And Jesse Brown's grandson and great-grandchildren. Jesse, of course, was the first naval aviator who was shot down in Korea. Hudner crash landed his airplane next to Brown's trying to rescue him, which earned him the Medal of Honor. And so we'll have those families there to see this gathering as well. You mentioned air shows. We've got 9 air shows in 7 days, 2 night air shows. And I always tell people, if you haven't seen a night air show, remember when you were a kid and you took a sparkler and wrote your name through the air to watch the light trail behind it?
That's a good description.
Yeah. Imagine doing that with an airplane. That's what a night air show is like.
The night air shows are very, very cool.
And
go ahead.
No, we have military aircraft, aerobatic aircraft, some fantastic fireworks at the end. Our guys who like to blow stuff up have the big wall of fire at the end of it as well. All of those things are part of the night air show. But 9 air shows, 7 days. That will be here as well. We have airliners on the ground. We have tributes to air racing and public benefit flying throughout the course of the week. We have the honor flight taking off and landing at Oshkosh on Friday, the 29th or 28th, excuse me. So it is a full week on this airport behind me.
Which is why I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I wanted to step in for a minute to say it is not a one-day show. So if you have the opportunity to come and spend, if you can't do it during the week, at least try to spend like Friday through Sunday. But if you have the opportunity to spend several days, you still won't see everything.
No, you won't.
But,
and
I wanted to ask you guys, this is for you, Dick and Paul and all of you. For somebody that's never been to something like this and is not in our industry, what kind of thoughts and recommendations do you have for them that will help them really enjoy the experience?
Well, I'll let some of the newbies on the staff talk about that in just a second. I always tell people, bring a hat, bring comfortable shoes, bring sunscreen, bring water, because you're going to need all of those things by the time you're done. There's a lot of walking going on, but I'll let the people who haven't been to quite as many shows as I have talk about what they should be prepared for and what to see if you're a newbie here.
I just want to jump in and say, if you are new, definitely download the EAA events app because it has everything on there, the schedule, the forums. So
we're paying her to say that.
And maps.
No.
I was sitting there going, yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, it just really helps you kind of, because it is overwhelming. There's so much to see and do. And if you're new, you don't know where anything is. It has the map on there. It has everything that you might need. So I highly recommend getting the app.
I would agree with that. And although you can put blankets down and stuff, I would add to that, if you're going to want to watch air shows, you should bring one of the little portable seats or something. You'll be a lot more comfortable. Because people will line up early for the shows. It's kind of funny to see people lining up at noon for 2 o'clock or 2:30 air show or whatever time it is, and that type of thing. And the night show, I'm so glad you brought that up, Dick. That's the coolest air show I've ever seen is an air show at night. I just think it's
like
spectacular to see what they can do. Yeah.
Think of fireworks and airplanes with fireworks flying through the fireworks.
Yeah, exactly. And
Also,
then go ahead.
Say, you got to bring a bag because you're going to find stuff that you want to purchase and you need a way to carry it around. So make sure you bring a bag.
A bag? You mean a suitcase? But okay. so I know. And shame on me because I go all the time. Well. But what's that, Paul?
I was saying that there's lots of great food. There are plenty of restaurants all over the grounds, excellent food. You've got lots of different choices, everything from barbecue to Italian to, oh my gosh, pretty much anything you can think of is going to be here. So.
Yeah, leave your diet at home because it's all that good county fair kind of food that you're not really supposed to eat, but you have to. So no, I was just going to mention too that we had talked a little bit before about the forums and the workshops and things like that, and a lot of the people that you have coming there speak. They do keynotes in different areas at the museum and other parts of the show and things like that. Maybe you guys would like to highlight a little bit of that too.
Yeah, we can talk a little bit about that. You have people who go and give these seminars for thousands of dollars. They share the information for free. You're here at AirVenture. You get that information. It's everything for how to land in crosswinds to how to paint your airplane to what's it like to fly the space shuttle, really? All of those things, new technology that's coming out for those who fly, what to do with rules and regulations. If you're a pilot and there are medical regulations, how do you deal with that? Some of those things. So the bounty of knowledge out there between learning and watching and then hands-on with the workshops, everything from fabric covering to welding and so forth, to learn those skills and take those back home as well. That's all part of it. As we said, more than 1,400 seminars and workshops and presentations during the course of the week.
Yeah. Listen, I almost forgot a couple of things. One is, go ahead.
I was just going to say, Tuesday morning, we are hosting in the AeroEducate Center. We're hosting Mac and Zara Rutherford, who were the teenagers that completed the youngest ever circumnavigation solo flight around the world. Zara did it in January of 22, and then Mac flew from basically March through August of 22, each of them flying a Shark Arrow aircraft, which Zara's aircraft will be on display here at AirVenture. But both of them together, who are coming here from Belgium at the invitation of AeroEducate, are going to present multiple times and do multiple meet and greets with kids and youth. And that's part of that speaker process. We're bringing in these people who are truly inspiring and have done some really remarkable things. So here we've got two teenage youth who have flown solo independently around the world, and they're gonna come and share about their experience.
Yeah, that's great. And the people that are coming, a lot of them also are authors. And so there are a lot of book signings that you guys have while all throughout the week that I just want to mention because I remember going to a couple of those. The other thing I was going to ask you real quick about, because we only have a few minutes left, but the Learn to Fly Center with the Redbird simulators and everything. Can one of you speak on that real, because that's a really cool piece of what you guys have there.
So in that Four Corners area on Celebration Way, as you're heading out towards Boeing Plaza, there's Four Corners, and a brand new youth welcome center is on the southwest corner. The Learn to Fly Center is on the southeast corner, and we're supporting each other. But the idea is that if anybody is interested in learning how to fly, you can go into the Learn to Fly Pavilion and get information. You can have an opportunity to sign up for a slot to actually practice some skills or learn some skills with a CFI with the Redbird simulator, as well as you can do that in the Pilot Proficiency Center, which is in the same building that we are located. So there's lots of opportunity to try your hand at flying, as well as actually increasing a skill that maybe you want to have help with a CFI, a certified flight instructor. And so the Learn to Fly Center is absolutely a great place to get additional information. What does it cost? What are the options? Where can it take me? If I want to go all the way from 0 time to commercial rating, how do I do that? All of those answers are going to be available in the Learn to Fly Center.
Excellent. Go ahead.
Back to what he mentioned before, the Youth Welcome Center. If you're a newcomer, or even if you've been there before, I still suggest stopping by the Youth Welcome Center. It's on the Four Corners. It's a brand new, the tent has been there, but the purpose of it is brand new. So our goal is to make sure that families that come on the grounds know where all the youth activities are happening, when they're happening, what they can get involved in. So we're going to have a map where all the youth areas are located, or are pointed out with a description of what's happening there, the hours that they're open, the age levels where it's appropriate, so that they can really kind of map out their day. So that's one of our big goals for this year, is to make sure that families are coming, have an idea of where they can go with their kids. And then one of the new locations as well is the AeroEducate Center. We're going to be putting on forums and hands-on activities for middle school and high school age kids from morning until night, all day, every day. Every day is different, so you can come by multiple times and it's going to be a different activity happening each day. So that's another brand new space for newcomers and for those who've been there before, that they might want to explore if they have those age youth in their families.
So as we wrap things up, I like to do an around the room. And Danielle, I'm going to go ahead and start with you. Anything that we haven't talked about or that you want to say as we close out?
I guess if you are able to come, you've never come before, I can almost guarantee you will not regret it. Like, I mean, I've never met somebody who's been to AirVenture who has been like, meh, I don't know.
I've never heard anybody say, oh, that wasn't happening, or no. Never. I think the only thing we ever hear is if we have bad weather. Weather. But yeah. Other than that, listen to me saying we like I'm part of AirVenture. But anyhow, no, that's good advice.
I don't want to say with 100% certainty, but I feel pretty confident that you're not going to regret that decision, and we'll probably see you again in another year. So,
Alyssa, anything you can think of we haven't talked about?
I would just add that even if you're a family with young children and you think, well, they're kind of young, I don't know if we should bring them, still bring them. I have a picture of myself with my parents outside EAA when I was 2 years old, and all those experiences when I was young, I still remember certain things. They stuck out to me and they led me to where I am today. So,
hey, it's like going to Disneyland or something. I mean, it is a family experience, and I think it's really great that EAA invites the youth for free. That's a wonderful thing, and that makes it even more family, because you see big and small families coming with kids and strollers and the like, and it is very conducive to that. I mean, it's a comfortable place, a safe space to be. Aviation is a safe space in general, so it's just a wonderful thing. Paul?
So for sure, it is the Mecca of aviation. You've got to come. And Alyssa mentioned that on Friday we have teacher day and it's already packed. We also have an educator day that happens on Monday morning. So if you're an educator and want to learn more about how to incorporate aviation into your curriculum, consider coming and joining us on Monday morning at the AeroEducate Center.
Wonderful. Dick, I always like to have the last person who I say take us home. So Dick, I'm going to give that to you. Take us
I
home.
will do that. Well, AirVenture is a gathering of people and airplanes you'll see no place else in the world. And it was probably best described to me some 20 years ago. We had a Russian pilot here, and it was his first time here, simply blown away by it. And in that Russian poetic way that those people do so well, he said, for aviators, this is a holiday for the soul. It is. That's exactly it. It's AirVenture. It's the 24th through the 30th this month. It's the place to be, your aviation. We hope to see you on the flight line. And if not, why the heck aren't you here? So that's what I've got to say. We'll see you out there in the flight line.
That sounds great. Well, listen, gang, I want to thank you guys all very much. And I appreciate, Paul, you adding your staff last minute for them to join us. But it was great to have both you, Danielle, and Alyssa joining us to tell what aspect of what you do with this fantastic education center that EAA has. I can't speak enough about how great this event is and how great the experience can be for anybody, whether you're an aviation enthusiast or you just like to, be in the environment and have a good time and learn more about our industry. And from the things that you guys have described that are going to be there, it ranges all the way from home built to space exploration. So, and everything in between. It's really great. It's nice to hear that you're showing the movie Devotion. It was a very good movie, and what a great story about a naval aviator. Okay, a little biased, naval aviator kind of a guy I am, but anyhow. But guys, thank you very much for taking the time, and we're really looking forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks, and looking forward to EAA having another great AirVenture there at Oshkosh, Wisconsin at Wittman Regional Airport. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vince.
Thanks. All Things in the Aviation and Aerospace is a presentation of a video podcast presentation of Private Air Media Group, and is available to watch on demand via my Private Air Media YouTube channel, LinkedIn Live page, Facebook Live page. All Things Aviation Aerospace is also available in the podcast audio format on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcast from. As a continuation of previewing EAA AirVenture at Oshkosh next week, I will have guests from Delta Airlines and Airbus to talk about the arrival of the Delta Airlines Airbus A350, that's a big boy, which will be on display for a day, and their career row exhibits, etc., and the like. So in the meantime, please take care, stay safe flying if you're a pilot like me, and blue skies. See you next Friday. And for those of you who make it out to EAA AirVenture at Wittman Regional Airport in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, see you then. Have a great one, everybody.